Hi there, and welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. Today, I am delighted to introduce my special guest, Vince Kramer, who is an airline pilot, a military veteran, and now is an author, teacher, and clear conscious channel. And he's here today to talk with me about transformation and purpose-driven growth and tell us what he has discovered on his journey in life. So welcome, Vince.
Thank you so much, Dawn. It's such a pleasure to be here with you and the audience today. I can't wait to find out where you take us.
Oh, we're going to have a great conversation. I know this. So firstly then, can you share your journey and what was going on in your life and the moment that marked the beginning of your awakening?
Oh, that question in itself could probably take us about 4 hours. I'll start with the point where I realized that I had been living by a set of rules that weren't mine. And the understanding that I was living by those set of rules wasn't easy for me to come by. First of all, I had a bunch of what we call conscious wake-ups, things that happen in my life or knowingnesses that I had that I just didn't pay attention to. Life has to be better than this. Wait a minute, I'm doing everything I was told to do, and I'm still not happy. But I didn't pay attention to any of those, Dawn, unfortunately. So what does the universe deliver for us? What does our higher selves give us? Something a little bit stronger to pay attention to. The first one was 9/11. I had a really good friend that died that day on Flight 93. And actually, I flew Flight 93 1 week prior. So if it would have been 9/4 instead of 9/11, I would have been in that smoking hole in Pennsylvania. But those rules that I mentioned, I lived by them pretty strongly. This could never happen to me. I would have done something different. And I just went on and didn't realize that this was calling me to live life a little bit differently. So the universe delivered a little bit stronger knock on the door. And that knock on the door was bankruptcy of United Airlines. I lost 60% of my pay, all of my retirement. And because of that, I bought a couple pretzel stores, and that was going to be my retirement. That was going to fulfill the rule that my dad gave me. I needed to make sure that my family was taken care of financially in the way that they had become accustomed. Unfortunately, Dr. Atkins shows up in the world. He tells everybody that carbs aren't good for you. And the pretzel stores took quite a dive, which then required me to spend a lot more time in those stores, along with my full-time job. At the time, I was teaching for United Airlines. I was teaching pilots. And during that time frame, my ex-wife had an affair. And I came home one day, and she was just crying profusely, actually sobbing. And it took me a while for her to finally tell me what was wrong. And she told me, I messed things up. I've been having an affair. And that was finally the wake-up call that got my attention. Really shook me hard and said, Vince, you need to start paying attention. You need to find out what I kept telling myself. There's something missing, there's something missing, there's something missing. And finally, I stepped out to try to find out what was missing, and I found out it was me.
Goodness. Yeah, quite a wake up call. You were talking there about, living by the rules. When you talk about, living by others' rules, can you explain that to us? What's that about?
Oh, certainly. First of all, at 5 years old, I shared with my grandmother that I wanted to help people love themselves so they could love each other. Now, what a concept for a 5-year-old, right? And my grandmother reminded me of that fact when I was 17 on her deathbed. But I didn't really pay attention at 17. It took me till I had those wake up calls to pay attention to that. And up to that point, I was living by a set of rules that came from three of the most influential men in my life. My father, of course, my grandfather, and a neighbor who was, let's just say, quite arrogant. And it was mostly my grandfather that taught me his rules of living, his rules of being a man. Always compete, never let uh, the best be good enough. Always look for the next thing to achieve, the next thing to take you above the next person. And through my life, I lived by those rules. I was always looking for what could I do next? What job could I have next? What could I accomplish? What could I get that would finally help me feel like nothing was missing? That I was going to be happy. And we all have a tendency to live by these rules. And they're given to us by people that love us beyond measure, but they don't want us to experience life the way they experienced it, or they want us to not go through the trials and tribulations that they went through. So they tell us how to live. Unfortunately, we're here to live our life our way. And until we realize that, we're going to live by other people's rules. And I'll tell you, even when I found what was missing in my life, I still started to live by another set of rules. So it took me a while to really understand it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we're more concerned about meeting others' expectations. When your parents they want you to go to college, they want you to do super, super well, and they kind of push you in the direction that they want you to go, not in the way you naturally feel you're flowing towards. Do you find that is the same?
Well, of course. And if we look at why that happens, it, this habit, if you will, this pattern, this behavior of wanting to do what others want
Yeah.
for us starts at a very young age. As soon as we come in, we start looking for the satisfaction of being fed, of being loved, of being safe. And we develop the patterns and the habits of doing everything that makes other people feel good and give us that love, make sure that we're fed, make sure that we're safe. And it's something that we have to do as human beings because that's how we develop our personality, that operating system that we have. And we chose our parents, and that means we chose our grandparents, we chose everybody else in our life. And because of those choices, we have to understand that we're here to kind of pick up on their belief systems at first because those belief systems are going to help us develop those gifts that we're here to develop, the talents that we're here to develop. But then we have to realize that just like me, we're all going to have some type of wake up call. And if we pay attention to that wake up, now it's time to let those old beliefs go and to start realizing that, oh, wait a minute, I am here for a specific reason. We like to call it your unique purpose. Then there's three parts to that purpose. But I'm really truly here for something. And if I'm going to deliver that, if I'm going to show up fully as who I am, I've got to stop living by all these other rules.
Yeah. And be yourself. I think that's the most important thing, isn't it? I don't think people live their lives themselves. They live it to the way they feel that they're expected to live it and how to behave, how to think, what to do. I really don't feel that we are taught to be ourselves, our genuine, authentic selves.
Well, and that's because the people who taught us didn't
Yeah.
know it either.
Didn't know any
And
better. Hmm.
and when you're spending a lot of your life, and especially people that grew up in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even pushing the mid 80s, we were constantly taught that the recognition had to come from the outside for us to feel like we were successful, to feel that we were important. And we had to, because of the way we grew up, we only had what we were experiencing or what was shared with us from these people who cared the most for us to follow. But I want everybody to realize there was truly a gift in that. The gift is it's gotten you where you are right
Yeah.
now. The things that you understand in life that will help you deliver what we call your divine intent, your reason for being here, your mission. You develop these amazing skills. I can use myself as an example. My life of the military, my life of moving into United Airlines, all the education I had, it helped me learn how to teach. It helped me to learn how people learn and to use the different learning styles to help people. I learned how to develop programs that made sense to people, followed the patterns of several different learning styles instead of just one. And if I wouldn't have gone through those jobs, if I wouldn't have experienced those parts of my life, I wouldn't have all these amazing gifts that I have to share with people through our programs, how we develop them, how we deliver, how I coach, how Mary shares. All of that came from us developing these skills along the way.
Yeah, from experience. You can talk from the heart because you've actually gone through it. So you have not just the knowledge and the understanding, but also the wisdom that comes with it. And you can impart that on others. Yeah.
And certainly. And I really want people to know this is what I believe. You don't have to believe anything that I believe, but at least take it in for a little while and see, does this work for me or not? I truly believe that we made the decision to come to Earth as an energy. And in making that decision, we chose what it was, the difference that we were going to make in this world. So all the parents and everything that all comes into it, but also there's the non-physical part of us and the physical part of us that are living here on Earth, and that non-physical part of us is what's creating and co-creating all these experiences and circumstances for us to grow, to expand. And it's easy for us to look from the aspect that we've been taught, that society teaches us, that something's happening to us, that we're a victim of what's going on. But if we are willing to accept that we chose to come to Earth and that non-physical part of us is creating, we can start seeing all these circumstances, all these experiences in front of us as a gift from that non-physical part of us and not come from being a victim. And that truly opens the door up for us to be so much more. We finally realize that we are the creators of our lives. And if we choose to take full responsibility, nothing will feel like it happened to us anymore. It'll happen for us, and more importantly, because of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And when you were talking about your story earlier, you mentioned that you weren't listening to some of the nudges that you were getting. So what were the nudges that you were experiencing and why do people miss these?
Well, I think we miss them because we've been taught what success looks like. We've been taught where happiness is. Just look at our commercials and look at our magazine advertisements. We've been taught that happiness looks a certain way, and that we might need a car for it or a house for it. And for me, the other thing that I want to share is our social media right now. That we see so many people sharing their happiness, but they don't really share the fullness of their lives. So we look at these examples that are out there saying, well, my life should look like this. And if I do this, it's going to look like that. If I do that, it's going to look like that. My first self-help work that I did, it was like, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world? Go get a book about them and become them. And what happens is our higher self is trying to get that message through that, Vince, you're not a Lee Iacocca or think of anybody that I might have chosen to be somebody to pattern myself after. You're not this person. And I'm going to create these things in front of you here so you see. And those messages started out as, uh, wait a minute, you're not happy like you thought you should be. Or, yes, you're really enjoying what you're doing right now, but there's other things that you even enjoy more. And I would say to myself in my head, my subpersonalities would get involved. And it was like, well, no, this is where the money is. This is how you're going to succeed. No, you can't leave this job right now, because if you leave this job, then the possibility of you being promoted is going to go away. And those were the little wake up calls. And we hear them in our head. You can be happier. You've done everything you're supposed to do. The really big one is something's missing. And I've heard it from a lot of people. The other one that really hurts my heart is, this is as good as it gets. Because we are so amazing. We have the opportunity to create so much. And there's people out there looking for what we have to create. And if we start looking at it from, well, it's not going to get any better than this, we're really sentencing ourselves to a lifetime of true unhappiness.
And we'll just live within those limitations, won't we? We need to, blow the lid off this ceiling and just, understand and know that we can go for whatever it is that we want. Yeah. And there are no limitations other than those that we impose on ourselves.
I just told somebody that earlier today. The only obstacles in you living the life that you're meant to live, the life that you truly deserve, are in the inside.
Yeah.
Which means we're in control of all of them. It's just learning that we can control them.
We can.
Nobody told us that we could change our beliefs. Nobody told us the voices in our heads were just subpersonalities trying to protect us from, in most cases, just the unknown. Nobody told us that we could change the rules and we could live by our own rules and it was okay. And I'm here, and I know you're here, to tell people now that it's okay to live by your own rules. You can change your beliefs. You can be all of what you dream. Because if you, one of my favorite quotes from one of my mentors, Jack Canfield, the chicken soup for the soul guy, is, if you can dream it, you can be it. And that is so true.
Absolutely. So, what are the questions you were asking yourself, that you wanted answers to, and why were they so significant?
The interesting thing about that was it was the questions that my grandfather put in my head. And I believe that all the answers were on the outside. What would be the next thing that would take me to the next level? What job would help me get noticed so I could be in that position that finally I would feel good and I would feel okay? And I wasn't even asking myself the tough questions. I wasn't asking myself yet, who am I? I wasn't asking myself, why am I here? Those didn't come until after the wake-up call and when I finally started paying attention. And it's really interesting because I knew that those questions were big because I had friends who were, why am I here? Who am I? I heard this all the time, but I was so ingrained in Grandpa's rules that I didn't even think about asking those questions. And then after the divorce, and I started to try to find who I am, and I did a lot of work with Jack Canfield. Mary came back in my life. Mary's my business partner, my current wife, and she came back into my life, and that's a story in itself. It's pretty interesting. But when she came into my life the second time, we were just drinking buddies. We were both getting divorced at the same time. And a friend of mine said, Vince, why don't you talk to Mary? Maybe she can help you understand what's happening in the divorce. So we got together once a month and we chatted, and we commiserated and we leaned on each other's shoulders. But she started talking about spirituality. And she started saying things like, well, we're all one. And she started saying things like, we're all here for a reason. And anything that you do affects me, and anything I do affects you. And she was coming from a space of hearing it metaphysically. And it didn't quite sit right with me, Dawn. So I started looking for the answers. Answers more for me, but knowing, I think, back in deep in the recesses of my mind, that if I found the answers, I could show her that she wasn't right. So I got involved in science, and I really got into quantum physics heavily. And the deeper I got into the science, the more I started proving Mary right. And I started realizing that, wait a minute, we're all part of this one energy. And quantum physics tells us there's no mistakes or coincidences. And then all of a sudden it's like, who am I? Why am I here? Why did I experience life the way that I did up till now? And through research, through reading books, actually some very interesting stories about getting guidance, I finally was able to uncover those parts of myself. And through that journey is where I learned that there's three parts of our purpose. It's not just the why, it's the who, what, and why of who we are. And then in understanding that, everything that's happened in our life makes sense. It's easy to find the gift in those things that have happened. And we've got a blueprint that we really formed before we came to Earth to start living our life more fully.
Mm-hmm. And you and Mary authored a book, Awakening Through Moments of Choice. So what made you write that book? And can you explain what you mean by moments of choice?
Oh, certainly. But here it is. And
Yeah.
the cover kind of gives it away. It's about Mary and my journey in my awakening. So I was pretty closed down, and I didn't realize some of the concepts that Mary shared. And as I started then on the journey to look into science, I started realizing why the wake-up calls had happened. And then the next step came from that. And I was able to tap into information at a different level. There was an experience at an event I went to. I told myself after the divorce that I was going to look at all the opportunities out in front of me, and I was going to take as many as I could to help me find what was missing and to live that life fully. And at one event that I was at, it was kind of an event to sell events. And I was with a group of people that I'd been with for a couple days, and this program popped up. It was called Illumination Intensive. And I wasn't paying any attention to it. It wasn't something that I thought I would be interested in. So I didn't listen to what the program was all about or anything. But a bunch of my friends that I had met during that workshop said, Vince, you've got to go to this. This is something that you're supposed to be at. So I spent the money to go to it. all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 months down the road, it shows up as time for me to go to this event. And I realized I had no idea where I was going. And I was preparing, I was packing, and I got a phone call from Mary. We had just started dating at that point. And she said, I'm up in Aspen. I'm up here with my business partner, my son. Why don't you come up and join us, spend a night up here? And it was like, Mary, I've got this event to go to. I don't really want to do it. That I've got to drive down the airport at 4 in the morning. And then she says, I really want you to come. So I went. And we had some margaritas. We spent some time at a Mexican restaurant. I needed the margaritas for what was to come. So Mary and I ended up being intimate. And after that, Mary sat up in the bed and she said to me, Vince, I see this woman standing next to you. I see this image of a woman. And she described this woman to me. And believe it or not, she described my grandmother. Now, my grandmother died when I was 17, so Mary knew nothing about her. She never saw pictures of her. I never even talked about her. But then Mary said, and I also see this other image, and she describes this little blonde girl. Blonde hair, blue dress, white blouse, ankle socks, patent leather shoes. She described her pretty fully for me. Mm-hmm. Shortly after that, we fell asleep. A couple hours later, I get up. I drive to the airport. I get on an airplane. I fly all the way to Vancouver from Denver, all the time thinking about what's this little blonde girl thing going on. And I never could figure it out. I got to the event. And I find out that this event is a 5-day event, and all you did from 6 in the morning till midnight, so 18 hours a day, sit in dyads, so knee to knee to someone else in the group, and answer the question, tell me who you are. Pretty profound. And I actually had an energetic awakening in that 5 days. But the most interesting thing that happened was that 5 times during that stint, somebody said to me, do you know that there's an energy of a little blonde girl with you? And each one of the persons, even though we weren't supposed to talk about anything but tell me who you are, I said, tell me what she's wearing. And every single one of them described this little blonde girl exactly the way that Mary did. That was the trigger, if you will, for me to start paying attention to what was going on and things that were being said. And that's when I started looking I was already answering the question, who am I, through that 5 days. I started asking the other questions. Why am I here? And then even just as important as why am I here, what do I have to offer the world? And those questions really started taking me in the direction of paying attention to understanding that we truly are energy. And because we're all energy and we're part of that one true energy, yes, we have the ability to tap into guidance at a very high frequency. We have access to every thought that's ever been thought. Every idea that's ever been had, we have all this access. And I finally realized that's why I'm here. I'm here to learn these concepts, and I'm here to help people find their reason for being, their reason for showing up here, their decision that they made at birth, and to help everyone live their divine intently, because we're moving from a very I conscious world towards we consciousness. And in that move, we've really, truly got to find why we're here and to give that fully. So it's us for us, we for we, ours, instead of I, mine, and holding it all in. So it was just a couple things that happened in my life that I just had to pay attention. You know, I was a military pilot. I was flying as an airline pilot, and I'm starting to hear about these visions people had, and I couldn't deny them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it even went further. Mary said she learned about this little blonde girl in the channeling, and I said, I want to go. So I headed to a channeling with something that I didn't believe in at all. I thought I was going to sit down with some lady with a crystal ball, or somebody who was looked like a gypsy and was going to read cards or read my hand and tell me what I was. And then I was there in front of this channel, and some of the things that happened there I couldn't deny either.
Amazing, totally amazing. And I think just going back really to what you were saying about us all being connected, the idea of separation is a total illusion, because we might be individual, but we're definitely not separated. We're definitely connected 100% energetically. Oh, it was fascinating.
Dawn, I didn't answer your question, and I apologize. We wrote the book because I experienced those things.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who is really big in sports, a military pilot that's been to war, my awakening, we realized we had to share the story because there's so many people out there that don't believe that we're this energy, don't believe
Mm-hmm.
that we're being called to wake up to more of who we are. And if a 240 pound, 6'5" guy that played college sports and flew in the military is being called to wake up, maybe I could be the poster child for others to wake up, especially the men in the world. The women have a tendency to wake up faster or be
They
more
do.
willing to wake up. But maybe I could be the poster child for that. And my story, I felt, was important enough to get out there, because if just one person wakes up
Yes.
because of the book, it's well worth it. And then also the story of Mary and I growing and expanding and waking up together is really important, because I know there's many people out there that one person in the couple is waking up and the other one kind of refuses.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if they read the book and said, whoa, wait a minute, this little blonde girl, I understand why this guy might trust that. And now he's telling me all these things about how we create our own realities and we have 3 parts of our purpose and we can tap into guidance. Maybe they'd start believing it. So that's what Awakening Through Moments of Choice is all about.
It is, and I am reading that at the moment. It's a fabulous book, and like I said to you, I resonate with absolutely everything you say in that book, and I'm really enjoying it. Now is a good time. We'll just have a quick break, but stick around, because after the break, Vince is going to tell us his fun fact about something he did as an airline pilot, and I bet you'll never guess what it is. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Holy Hydrogen introduces the most powerful health enhancement device in the world, the Lord's Hydrofix Premium Edition. Studies have shown therapeutic potential for cancer, diabetes, digestive and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. This isn't medical advice, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Visit holyhydrogen.com to learn more about this groundbreaking gold standard hydrogen generator that, for a reasonable price, creates therapeutic quality hydrogen gas for inhalation and hydrogen infused water for consumption. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
So, welcome back. I'm here today with Vince Kramer. Vince has got an awesome story to tell us. This is his fun fact. So, Vince, tell us all about it.
Well, I loved when you asked me to share a fun fact with you. It's it happened a few years back now, but every year the president pardons a turkey, and that turkey is pardoned just as a show that uh, everybody deserves to have their freedom. Everybody deserves to move forward in a way that truly gives them an opportunity to have the life that they really want. So I was asked to be the captain of the airplane that actually flew these turkeys to Disneyland, because what happens is the president pardons the turkeys, and then the turkeys get to live out the rest of their life at one of the parks, either Disney World or Disneyland. So it's very interesting. First of all, there's a turkey that gets pardoned and a turkey's backup that also gets pardoned just in case something goes wrong. So I got to go to the pardoning at the White House for Pumpkin and Pecan. That was the names of the turkeys that year. And then the coolest thing, we had a police escort from the White House to Dulles Airport. My flight crew, the family of that raised the turkeys, and the two turkeys got a police escort to the airport. The turkeys got to go to the VIP club and spend about 35 minutes in the club meeting all of the, shall we say, the upper echelon of ticket buyers for the airline as we went through our flight checks. And then the turkeys showed up and they were in dog crates. They were buckled in first class. So Pumpkin and Pecan got to fly first class with their owners. And then in the back of the airplane, about 3/4 of the back of the airplane were Disney employees. So there was all kinds of Mickey Mouse ears, Minnie Mouse ears. My wife and our son got to go with us on the flight, and we flew across country. Our call sign was Turkey 1. We got priority all the way across the country. We got priority landing in Los Angeles. And then Mary and I and our son Riley got to go to the parade at Disneyland, in which the turkeys were the guests of honor, and they were the masters of ceremony for the parade.
Wow, that's quite the story, and I don't think there is many people out there that could put their hand up and say that they've done that too. It's amazing. That's
And
cool.
I will remember that the rest of my life. I even tell
I
my
bet.
grandkids about it all the time.
I bet. I bet. That's great. Okay, so in your journey, how important is it to embrace your authenticity and your vulnerability, and how do you feel it affects your progress?
It's essential. It's
Mm,
absolutely essential. So my journey, there was a reason for it. No mistakes or coincidences. So science tells us that everything happens for a reason. And this journey that I was on really helped me understand that we've got this energy that we put out into the world.
yeah,
And that energy that we put out into the world, we can't hide. Other people feel it. We have energy fields, energy bodies that go out there, and everybody feels that energy. And if we're not authentic, if we're putting a mask on to be what Dawn wants me to be on her show and what they want me to be at United Airlines, if we continuously put that mask on to hide who we truly are, there's chaos. The people are feeling my energy, but seeing something else
yeah.
and really don't understand what it's all about. So it's important that way. So we reduce the chaos. We attract those people who are really looking for us. The other thing that's really important about being authentic is if you're trying to be someone else, there's no way you can live that reason that you're here. And when I started doing the research and I started getting guidance through the channeling that I have gone to, and the ways I've learned to tap in to get my answers,
Mm-hmm.
because if we don't find our own answers, then we're still trying to live someone else's way. And in our work, and I've got some amazing programs, and I can teach you how to be a really good Vince if you want me to teach you to be something. But more importantly, in our programs, I can show you how to get the answers to be the really good you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that authenticity shines a light out. It's law of attraction, right? You emanate or radiate this energy out into the world. And in radiating the energy out, you're attracting the people who need what you have to offer. And this world is truly just a big puzzle. And each one of us is a puzzle piece. And if I'm living my divine intent, I can put my piece in that puzzle. And then how many other pieces are going to fit in the puzzle if I put mine in? And the answer for me came in really understanding I'm here to help people find those three parts of their purpose. And then once they discover it, how do you create the life around it and how to live it? And that's what I'm here for, to help that puzzle all go together. And you need to be authentic. You need to know who you are, and you need to feel comfortable with who you are, because each and every one of us is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every one of us is special. Each and every one of us is unique. And somebody's looking for that uniqueness. So we need to show up in the world that way.
They are, yeah. And it's all about resonance, isn't it? Your frequency, everything's on a specific frequency. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, money, everything is of a specific vibration. And you attract into your life what you are and what you are vibrating. So it's all about, looking at your life. And if you're not happy with it, then the only way you can change it is to change that frequency, is to go inside and make those changes. You can't do it from the outside.
In our year-long program, we teach the emotional scale that was given to us, if you will, by Abraham Hicks. It was channeled through Esther Hicks. And that vibrational scale, it talks about the low vibration emotions and the high vibration emotions. Fear being the lowest, love and empowerment being the highest. But one of the things that we teach in our year-long program that's really essential, the emotions are nothing more than a communication system.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told, don't get angry, don't cry, we've been told to hide our emotions in so many different ways. And we could talk about the physical effects of stuffing your emotions. But I think what's more important for us to share is when you're frustrated or when you're angry, all that anger is really showing you that the vibration that you're at in this moment doesn't match the high vibration that you've already achieved being who you are. And the anger is just the gap between the two. So if we can look at our anger as something to experience and then realize I'm only angry because I'm not living my fullest vibration, how do I get myself up to that vibration? Who do I surround myself with? What do I change my thoughts to? And these are all things that we can do. We're just not told to do them or how to do them because most of the population doesn't even know about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I know you mentioned earlier on about, science and spirituality. So how do you bridge that gap between the two in your classes, in your teachings?
One of the most important things is to present to the people that are in the class at the time. And it's very interesting. The classes all, shall we say, attract each other. So they're all pretty much on the same wavelength. So first of all, sharing the concepts of spirituality, because we tend to attract people who have had a wake-up call and know that their life needs to be different, and they want more from life, and they want to live more fully, and they want to find the answers to who am I and why am I here. And in doing that, uh, we find that there's resistance, especially the subpersonalities. When you start saying, I want to step into believing that we're all energy, and that as the observer of my life, I create my reality. I'm ready to step into those places. That's the unknown for those subpersonalities that are trying to protect you. And that's the only reason you formed them. There was something that happened in your life that your main personality didn't know how to deal with. So you formed a subpersonality to deal with that situation. But they're energy, so they never go away. It's not like get rid of the ego. That doesn't work. We have to realize they're there and learn how to work with them.
Yes.
So now they're trying to protect us from the unknown. They don't want us to get hurt. They don't want us to be sad. They don't want us to fail. But more than anything, they don't want us to step into the unknown. And they'd rather us be extremely unhappy than step into the unknown. So as we start talking these concepts, the concepts get to be a little confusing, or they get to, people start to question, okay, this is really good information, but is it true? And that's where it's great to bring the science part of it in, to bring quantum physics in and show how the observer effect works, to talk about entanglement and to really explain to people that science even tells us once we've come into contact with each other, once we've had an energetic connection, we always have an energetic connection. And you can be completely on the other side of the world and talk bad about me, and I'm going to feel it. So let's talk good about each other. Let's
About
support each
everything.
other.
Yeah.
It really even, it's very interesting because we deal with a lot of younger people also. And we start talking about that connection. You might really want to consider who you're hooking up with, because that energetic connection is going to be with you the rest of your life. And it's really changed the way a lot of young people look at their friends, look at their experiences that they're having.
Yeah. It is very true, very true. I'm a lot more sensitive to energies around me now than I used to be. And now I can sense it and think, nope, I'm avoiding that like the plague. You can really feel it. I so understand. Now you channel energies known as the round table. So will you tell us what that's all about and how you got started doing it?
Oh, certainly. So, as you can imagine, an airline pilot that all of a sudden started to channel, it was a very challenging situation for me. So I came back from that event that I told you about with the little blonde girl, and I wanted to know who the little blonde girl was after all these people recognized her. So I asked Mary to go for a walk with me. We were going for this long walk. It was just the two of us. And I said, tell me about this little blonde girl. And she said, I learned about this little blonde girl in a channeling. Well, as I said earlier, I had no idea what a channeling was. I grew up Catholic. Channeling, what does that mean? Is it the devil coming through you, or what is it? But she explained that this little blonde girl was going to come into her life, and that little blonde girl coming into her life would help her see the person that she had a mission with. So it was like, okay, I want a channeling. And she said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a channeling." So she set this channeling up for me. And I went to the channeling with her and her mother. And we went to this house. It was very modern house on one end and an earth house on the other. And it was like, okay, this is a little strange for me. And we met the lady who was going to channel for us. And she was a very nice, very sweet lady. We had tea. She tried to make me feel as comfortable as possible. And then before we went back to her den where she channeled, she said, "I can channel for you in 3 ways. I can be a full channel, and I can let the energies come in and you can just have a conversation with them. Or you can give me your questions and then I'll let the answers come in and then I'll tell you the answers. Or you can ask the questions and then I will give you the answers afterwards." Well, it's like, well, I'm going to do this. I might as well do it all the way. So I want to talk to these energies. So we go back to this room and we settle in, and I watch her start to, her facial features seem to change to me. Now, that might have just been me in my head or whatever, but I noticed her posture changing and everything. And immediately, Dawn, I started into the justifying. Oh, so this woman's a really good actress. She can change her body and she can change her posture and make you feel like she's another energy. So that energy comes in. It's a very masculine voice, introduces himself as Archangel Michael. And for a period of time, Michael's sharing with me, this happened in your life, and this is why it happened. This happened, this is why it happened. This is why this person was in your life. And all the time I'm justifying it. So Mary told this lady all about this, my life. And then Michael goes, "There's someone else here that wants to talk to you. Are you interested in doing that?" And I said, "Sure, I'm here." Once again, justifying as I watch her facial features change a little bit, her posture change. And she started talking in a male voice again, but a little bit higher pitch and much more jovial. And this energy introduced itself as Archangel Raphael. And as we got started in the conversation, I'm still justifying everything that's going on. And then Raphael said to me, "You're here to open hearts. But to open hearts, you need to open yours first. And I'm going to help you with red-haired, blue-eyed people." Now, once again, justifying, Mary's oldest has red hair, blue eyes. Mary also knew that I met a few people in the last month that had red hair and blue eyes. So once again, I'm justifying it until Raphael said to me, as an example, "Do you remember walking through Walmart last week? And as you were walking through, a little boy stood up in his stroller and was watching you, just tracking you as you were walking across the store. Couldn't take his eyes off you. And then that little boy fell out of his stroller and his mom caught him just before he hit the floor." And then Raphael said to me, "That little boy had red hair, blue eyes." And it was like, oh my gosh,
That
I
realization.
got to pay attention here.
I know,
Because the
wow.
mom knew, the boy knew, and I knew. And at that point, I started listening to everything that was shared. And a couple more energies came in, and they shared a lot of great information with me. But the most important thing was at the end, Archangel Michael came back in and said, "You know you're here to open hearts. We are going to come in. You're going to get information at night. So when you hear a voice at night, make sure your eyes are closed. Look up into your head, and you'll see blue if it's me. You'll see green if it's Archangel Raphael, yellow if it was another energy that came through, or red, a female energy that came through that day." And after that channeling, it started. And I started learning about the 3 parts of your purpose. I started learning how we were here to live our lives. I started learning that we brought this blueprint in with us. I would walk through a bookstore and a book would fall on the floor, and it would be The Biology of Beliefs, or a book about understanding frequency. And in
I'm
a
going to have
year's
to
period,
interrupt you here. I could talk to you all day because I am so fascinated with what you're saying here. We have like literally 30 seconds left. So if you could tell us, because I know you have some offer to make to the viewers, so could you just quickly tell us about that offer?
certainly. For everybody who's listening, just go to imaginemiracles.com/transcend. It's on the screen right now. And I'm going to make available to this audience several offers. First of all, where you can find the book. Second of all, for the first 10 people that come from this program, Mary and I are going to give you a free, what we call breakthrough session, Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session, a discussion with us. I'm going to give you that blueprint that I talked about so you can start filling out your own. It's called the Your Unique Purpose Formula, and you'll be able to download that for free. Lots of good information there, and please reach out because I know you're listening to this for a reason, and I want you to start living your purpose.
Thank you, Vince. That's fabulous. I have had an amazing conversation, have really enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so, so much. And thank you to the viewers for whether you're watching live or on demand. I hope you'll tune in next week. Vince, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Dawn.